Dobry den.
Zdravejte!
And welcome back to our little Bulgarian adventure.
Yes, here we are in Makaria Polska, doing our thing.
We've had a better week weather-wise.
Yes, it's dried up. The incredible amount of rain we had the previous couple of weeks, I think, has certainly done the garden some good. But finally it stopped.
And we managed to get quite a bit of trimming done.
Tidying up, all that sort of outside stuff. What we have done is we've done a little video just to show you the garden and a bit of the woodland before we did too much work. Yeah. So you can see how we started at the beginning of the week.
It was our first sunny day, wasn't it?
It was. So we thought, let's show you what we got.
So this is what our garden looks like after 2 weeks of rain. All the major beds around the outside had been weeded before. We've got some coming back. This middle bit in the middle of the garden we just left with wild plants for the bees to get. So that does need stripping down now. I did start yesterday afternoon, but I'm hoping to make a real difference to it this week. It's my little flower bed, starting to come to life. This barrel of weeds came out of just this little area here yesterday afternoon. This will be a little berry bed. It's already got some small berry bushes in it and some flowers. The bed next to it will also be flowers and vegetables. It's got a rose bush and some lavender. The daffodils are dying off now, so they'll be beheaded. But I haven't started weeding this one yet. Okay, this bed has flowers at this end and many weeds, but they're quite pretty. And we've also got strawberries, onions and peas starting to come through in this one, but again, not weeded yet. My path, you can see, has also not been weeded. We've also got a few more strawberries in here, along with some potatoes and some sage, but again, not weeded. So this is getting onto that middle section, which I say we haven't touched at all this year. As you can see, it's well overgrown. But we've tended to leave this just for the bees and the insects. But I will harvest the nettles and a bit the comfrey. So in this first little bed we've got radishes, carrots, onions and a couple of stray potatoes. And some more carrots in this one. They're Max's favourite vegetable. Some last year's onions and also my asparagus for this year, though we're not picking it this year, we're just letting it settle in, but we've definitely had shoots coming up, so that's all good. We haven't put anything in the other end of the raised bed yet, but that's because we're waiting to put some brassicas and if my seedlings ever grow. So I've got some potatoes in here which are just starting to poke their heads through, and some more onions. We did have a load of raspberry bushes in here, but we think Dexter might have killed most of them, so they don't seem to be doing anything. So a few flowers, so all our daffodils are now deadheading. This was a little wild area that I just left, with all the purple nettles. There's some more potatoes at the back there that are just starting to poke their way through. And the lovely tulips, which are a gorgeous sight this time of year. So we've had very little success growing anything in this part, we think due to the walnut tree dropping leaves and things in there. But I planted a load of flower seedlings in there, so we'll just see what comes up this year. So this little triangular bed is going to be another berry garden. We've got some raspberries, some black currants, and they seem to be sprouting up okay. In the middle we've got a few flowering perennial shrubs and some daylilies which I transplanted last year, and a new tree which doesn't seem to be doing very much, but we'll give it a chance. There's some my clematis which I'm hoping will grow up and over my arch, but again we'll have to wait and see. Seems to be doing alright so far. This little bed here as well, we had the same problem, I think due to the walnut tree leaves. So we're making this a flower bed. So we have tulips, it's got some roses and shrubs in there, and a load of daylilies and seeds that I transplanted from last year, so we'll see how they go. So this bed will have more veggies in it, some peppers and tomatoes hopefully. It has already got a rose and some daylilies in it. And the one next to it, the sage is doing really well, that I trimmed back. The one I didn't trim back is looking a little bit more sporadic. But I've already got some tomato seedlings in there, but they're looking a bit unhealthy at the minute, maybe too much rain. It's my little herb garden bit. We've got rosemary and thyme, as well as a rose and a few other little bits in there. I think there's an old strawberry lurking in there somewhere. And we've got mint down this end, along with more aquilegia. And this front bed, little bed along the front, was full of lovely daffodils, but so they've gone over now. But there are more flower seeds in there, so we'll just see what comes up there. Our little apple tree in the wild bit has got plenty of blossom on it this year. It looks lovely. So there's plenty that needs doing. All the paths need remulching, as well as the top of the beds once the plants are in. But hopefully a lot of work this week if we can get the weather to do it. This is a little orchard bit at just at the side as you come out the back garden gate. We've got a mint bed over there with some phlox in it, and our new fruit trees which we planted this year. Some are doing better than others. I think we may have lost 2 of the apples, but the others are all doing quite well. This is just my little rockery, which has got several types of mint in it, a bit of thyme, some phlox. They're getting swamped by its surroundings. So along this little tiny bed here, which we made up last year, we've got raspberries and onions. And quite a few of them are starting to get some leaves on now, but it should look different. I did mow this section a couple of weeks ago, but the grass has just overtaken it.
So I have managed to get out there and do a bit this week. So most of the beds at the top are weeded,
Yeah.
and the paths have started to be mulched. And many thanks to Max for providing me with boxes of mulch.
He is the mulch meister.
He has been this week.
We're planning on renting him out. Let us know if you're interested.
But you've been busy in the kitchen.
I have. As the end of April approaches, the deadline looms. So I've had to get a bit of a move on. This is what I've done this week. So we start this week with the fitting of the kitchen. We've got the cabinets already made. These are the base cabinets. We know where they're going. We've got to fix them to the wall, put the worktops on, well, you know the sort of stuff, build up the kitchen. I'll put the first coat of render on the steps here, just on the side. This is the side that's going to be next to the cabinet. There will be a bit of space, but not very much, so I've put that on in advance. There'll be a bit of finishing off to do on that, but I can do that. And it's going to be hidden as well, so nobody will know if I do a particularly good job on that. I won't show it anyway, so. So that's the cupboard bracketed to the wall, both ends, and you can see that's not going anywhere. I've now fitted the worktop. The worktop's screwed to the wall with similar brackets as I used to fix the cupboard to the wall. I've also fixed the worktop to the cupboard. Screws going from the inside up into the worktop. It's now quite secure. I've also put the silver aluminium edging strips on the worktop just to finish that off. They're only held on with glue, so I need to let those set up. But the next thing for me to do is to put the shelf in and the doors on the cupboard. And there's our first cupboard in place. The doors are on, the drawers are in. The plinth is on. There is a slight issue with the plinth, which isn't the fault of the kitchen, it's the fault of the floor. The floor drops away from the back of the house towards the front of the house, and over the distance between one end of the cupboard and the other end, it drops by almost an inch, or just over 2 centimetres. Luckily, Lynn suggested we buy a couple of sheets of this white melamine stuff, so we've got some that I can now cut down and make purpose-made plinths that actually fit the gaps on the floor. These plinths will be okay side to side. They'll also be okay running along the front of the other cupboard at the back wall. But yes, just one of those little unforeseen things, but we'll get that sorted. The other two cupboards, the double cupboard on the far end wall and the drawer unit cupboard, are in place. The worktop's on top, also fixed into place, and we've done the backing along the wall underneath the worktop. The next thing to do is plumbing. This is the hot and cold water that used to go to the tap that was above the bath when we had the bath in here. We're obviously not going to be using that. I've got to route the cables correctly so that the pipes come up underneath the sink, ready for the new sink and tap. So I've now put in the cold water and the hot water supply, running down the wall along the back of the cupboard and up to where the sink's going to be going. A couple of stopcocks just so we can isolate any leaks that possibly may happen. Now the barrel underneath is there as we're too low at this end of the house for proper drainage. So what we're going to do is we're going to run our sink into the water container, and then we can reuse the water container for water in the garden. So hopefully that will work out well. And now that I've done the plumbing, it needs to be checked. No, we'll check the cellar instead. We've decided for the splashback we're going to use these large ceramic tiles. They're just under 60 centimetres square. They've got a pattern, well, you can see what the pattern is. So we're going to actually put those on the wall as the splashback. That does cause us one small issue. On the side wall here we have the outlets for the power, so we have to cut a circular hole in the middle of the tile. Now I've looked into it and I think I've found a way to do it, but first I have to mark exactly where the hole's got to be. Once I've done that, I can then show you how I'm cutting the hole. So you can see the square where I've measured and marked where the hole's got to go. Now the easiest way of doing this is with a diamond cutting bit hole saw. That will cut the hole, but to stop it wobbling about all over the place, I've got a piece of polystyrene that will act as a guide for the drill bit, so it doesn't slide across the tile, and hopefully I'll get a nice tidy cut. That's the tile in place with the hole in it, which corresponds with the position of the socket box. I now have to fit the sockets into the boxes. That will give us 4 double sockets around the kitchen area. That should be plenty for anything we need. And that's the tiles now up in place to act as our splashback. I've yet to do the grouting, but with them in place, that's the last thing I've really got to wait for to set before I can finish off the kitchen. That's the main part of the kitchen. Things left for me still to do: grout between the tiles, fit the sink, fit a couple of wall cupboards. In the corner, the last exposed part of that wall at the back, I've got to build a shelving unit, We still have to bring the petrichor down and put that in its place in front of the old tiles. Fit some light fittings, and hopefully, with 3 days left on the countdown, I should have the kitchen finished by the end of April. Once the kitchen itself is in place and finished, I can then turn my attention to tidying up the steps and the gapway between the kitchen and the dining room. But fingers crossed, that should be it for the kitchen. So it's getting closer, but so is the deadline. I have 2.5 days left until the kitchen has to be finished. But there may be the opportunity for a 1-day extension.
Yeah, we've given him a stay of execution for 1 day.
And why is that?
It's Palamartsa trading day tomorrow, so we might pop over there. And if we do, then I'll have to give him an extra day, you said.
Yeah, I said you can't take one of my last few days away. That's just not fair. So yes, as we said, Palamartsa trading day is happening tomorrow. If you're a trader, well, you've probably already made arrangements. If you're just there as a buyer, get there from, I think, 12 o'clock they've changed it to, haven't they?
Yeah, it's 12, I think.
So after 12 o'clock, come along, snap up the bargains. There's an awful lot of things to buy, an awful lot of things to eat.
Yes.
That's my favourite bit. But yes, pop along, see what's happening, meet some friendly faces, have a good day out.
I think that's about it for us this week.
I think it is, yes. There's not been an awful lot happening apart from kitchen and gardening.
And we'll give you an update on both of those next week.
Yes. Will I make my deadline? You'll have to wait and see. So, until next week,
Stay safe.
be well.
Do skoro.
Do skoro.